Hello and welcome to Forever Rugby on Forever Sports. And the British and Irish Lions have just absolutely pummeled a pretty poor Sharks side. I don't mean that in terms of the player, I just mean that in terms of the game they played. 54 points to 7 was the final score. It wasn't a pretty game at all. And I think the Sharks will be very frustrated because they just didn't play well. It's one thing, they're always expected to lose. Let's be honest, they're always expected to lose. But it's the manner in which they lost. They were just nowhere the entire night, just forcing themselves into really awkward situations because they just couldn't compete in many things, but just basic errors, maybe trying to do too much. 54 points to 7 if you're going to be honest, probably a worse performance than what the Sigma Lions put on. I think the Sigma Lions have probably had a little bit more fight. The Sharks had more possession and more opportunity, but they couldn't make it count. And British and Irish Lions defense once again getting them through. Josh Adams with a hat-trick as well. Before we break down the game, please do smash a like on the video, subscribe to the channel as well. And a very brief overview of the game. It was 2 tries in the first 10 minutes as Josh Adams and Duvan van der Merwe crossed the white line before the 8th minute, with Owen Farrell adding conversions. Vernicock then getting a yellow card in 20 minutes. I thought Vernicock was actually very impressive. Duvan van der Merwe, Bundy Aki, 2 more tries before the halftime whistle. And the halftime score was 26 points to 0, with the Sharks having had 48% of possession and 47% of the territory in the first half, not able to sort of make anything count. They had quite a lot of opportunities, a couple of good position lineouts, stuff like that, but they couldn't get over the advantage line. They couldn't make anything happen. And in the second half, the Sharks put on a new front row, and James Fenter went over in the 51st minute. It looked like a nice start from the Sharks. They looked more competitive. They looked a little bit, more up for the game, and they scored that try. But it was after that it just didn't go particularly well. The British and Irish Lions responded by throwing on their front row. And after that, Josh Adams try at the 57th minute. Louis Rees-Zammit, 61st minute. Curran Bosch stabbing the ball in behind. Very, very easily read by Elliot Daly. Popped the ball to Rees-Zammit, who then ran the length of the field, or half the field. No one was going to catch him. Finn Russell came on the field. This is a Lions side. You only had one backline player on the bench, and that's all they needed. Duvan van der Merwe then went over in the 74th minute, and Josh Adams capped off his hat-trick in the 77th minute. But it's amazing how many of the Lions' tries actually came off Sharks' mistakes. And I think that's the frustrating part, is, the Sharks weren't expected to do particularly well. They weren't expected to go and win, but they just made so many errors, so many unforced errors. I think the Lions, not that saying they were there for the taking, but they gave the Sharks multiple opportunities. They conceded a lot of penalties, and they gave the Sharks opportunities to score, but the Sharks just didn't want to take them. So if we look at some of the stats of the game itself, the Sharks ended up with more possession. 60%. The second half, they had 70% of their possession compared to 30% of the British and Irish Lions. 70%. And they couldn't make it count. That's 73% territory. They played all the rugby in the second half in the British and Irish Lions territory, but the British and Irish Lions wouldn't go away. They just kept at it. And the 8 tries again for the British and Irish Lions. Owen Farrell missing 1 conversion, which is hence the 2-point deficit there. But meters run, 536 by the Sharks, 471 by the British and Irish Lions. They actually beat more defenders than the Sharks, 24 defenders compared to 23. But 11 clean breaks from the Lions compared to 6 from the Sharks. 104 gain line carries from the Sharks. They did try to keep it pretty tight, which is the only way they were going to get over the gain line. 15 offloads from the British and Irish Lions. 9 turnovers won. The Sharks were poor at the breakdown. That was a major area that the Lions targeted. 9 compared to 3. That means for every 1 turnover the Sharks won, the British and Irish Lions were winning 3. British and Irish Lions actually kicked a lot more tonight. Owen Farrell going to the boot quite a few times, which is quite interesting. But Duvan van der Merwe, he scored a lot of tries tonight. Josh Adams scored a lot of tries tonight. Louis Rees-Zammit grabbing another try. It was a little bit messy. But Duvan van der Merwe with a hat-trick, by the way. 2 hat-tricks tonight. So 6 of the 8 tries being scored by Josh Adams and Duvan van der Merwe. Bundy Aki and Louis Rees-Zammit decided to chip in there. The Sharks made 56 of 79 tackles, whereas the British and Irish Lions made 150 of 174 tackles, missing 24 tackles, but it's still a tackle success rate of 86%. The ruck success was 96% for the British and Irish Lions, 94% for Sharks. Lions success was also a lot better for the Lions. They won 10 out of 11 of lineouts, whereas the Sharks won 13 of 15. Scrums were pretty even, actually. Eventually, when their replacement front row came out for the Lions, they definitely started dominating. But 18 penalties conceded by the Lions. 18 penalties, and they scored just 7 points to the Sharks. 11 penalties were actually in the opposition half. So if the Sharks had actually, and I wouldn't have advocated for this at all, but if they'd actually gone for the points every time, there was potentially 30 odd points in penalties that they could have conceded when you consider Curran Bosch's boot at altitude. At least got 20 points. So maybe they actually should have kicked a bit more to goal, given the fact that the discipline from the Lions wasn't particularly good. Yellow card, Werner Kok got sent off, which I thought was a pity for him. He's had a really good game. 9 penalties conceded by the Sharks. If we look at some individual performances, and obviously Josh Adams is the big one. Another hat trick. He ran 82 meters, beating 4 defenders, 2 offloads, 1 try assist as well, 1 clean break, 3 tries. He also made 2 tackles. I didn't miss a single tackle. Playing at full back today was Josh Adams, and yet no difference whatsoever. Duvan van der Merwe ran 72 meters, 3 defenders beaten, 2 clean breaks, 1 offload, 4 tackles missed. 4 tackles, none missed, and 3 tries for him. Sensational stuff from those two. Louis Sam was also full of running. He made 104 meters gained, 2 defenders beaten, 2 clean breaks, 1 offload, 1 try assist, and a try. In terms of the forwards for the British and Irish Lions, as you'd imagine, Sam Simmons, 10 carries, 35 meters gained, 4 defenders beaten, 1 clean break, 1 offload, 1 try assist, 11 tackles. Tom Curry is usually topping a lot of tackles. He made 12 today, missing just 1. For Josh Navidi was pretty solid as well. He made 16 tackles, missing just the 1 as well. For the Sharks, Pepsi Buthelezi was relentless with his carries. He made 20 carries. 20 carries! That is unbelievable to make 20 carries. He also made 6 tackles, didn't miss a single one. He won 3 turnovers, conceded 3 turnovers, but he beat 2 defenders. What an effort from the youngster, 22 years old, to go and make 20 carries. He was absolutely relentless. I was very, very impressed with him. James Fenton made 6 carries, beating 4 defenders. He made 45 meters. He also made 11 tackles. He missed 3, but 4 turnovers won, and 4 turnovers conceded as well. Marius Lowe struggled a little bit, grew into the game, eventually beating 4 defenders, running 69 meters. But Werner Kok, for me, take a bow. Take a bow, Werner Kok. If somebody was sort of pitched up and said, I'm actually going to make a big game of this, it was Werner Kok. He made 9 tackles, missing 2, ran 73 meters, beating 4 defenders, 2 clean breaks, 2 offloads as well, 4 passes, an 82% success rate for a wing. He was everywhere. I thought I was very impressed with him. Didn't get a yellow card, but I was pretty impressed with him. In terms of fly-offs, Farrell was kicking pretty well, stabbing the ball in behind. I thought Curran Bosch was poor today. I was very disappointed. I thought that he was going to have a big game if the Sharks were going to get a result. And he kind of just sort of buckled under the pressure. I thought that he couldn't, when he did pass, he kind of put the back line under a little bit of pressure. I think he was probably standing a little bit flat, and a lot of his passes sort of going behind the player weren't particularly great. His kicking game was alright when he was kicking for touch, but the problem with the Sharks is they couldn't go to the kicking game. They couldn't put the ball up and under as they usually do. They didn't have the wings to chase, so they had to try and keep the ball in hand. And at the end of the day, you can't play 10-man rugby against this British and Irish Lions squad. They're too good. Their pack's too good. So that's kind of where they just kind of got bullied. So it's a game to forget for the Sharks. The Lions move on. They'll be facing the SAA next week Wednesday, so that'll be a much bigger test for them. We're not talking about test match quality up against the British and Irish Lions, so it should be a much better game for them. And please do smash like on the video, subscribe to the channel as well. My name is Stephen. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll chat to you soon.